Space Marines are one of the most iconic parts of Warhammer 40,000. They're, to many people, what Warhammer 40,000 is. And few things are essential to the identity of a Space Marine as the chapter. That's one of the huge defining traits of chapters. Blood Angels, Space Wolves, all of these things are iconic parts. To a Space Marine, chapter is everything. For players as well, Space Marines are huge. They define our armies, our paint jobs, and are a huge part of the 40k fluff. So today, I want to take a look at something about the chapter, and it's the very real-world origin of Space Marine chapters, because they come from a surprising real-world source. So, if you look at the codex idea of the chapter, right, this is the standard idea of the original chapter laid down at the end of the Horus Heresy by Guilliman. According to the Codex, the chapter is divided into 10 companies, and each company should have about 100 Marines in it. The first company is the Veteran Company, and it contains the heaviest troops. These are going to be like Terminators, Veterans, Vanguard Veterans, things like that. The second through 5th Company are the Battle Companies. Those 4 companies, they have a mix of all your kind of troops. Realistically, this is your classic company. If you think of just a company of Space Marines, that's going to be the Battle Company. The 6th through 9th Company are Reserve Companies. They're more specialized than the Battle Companies, but they're still made up of the same basic troop types. Lastly, you have the 10th Company, and it's a Scout Company, and it features the company's light troops. Along with these light troops, it also features the trainees. These are the newly inducted Space Marines. They've passed their basic trials, and they're in here, and they're really learning to become Space Marines. In addition to those 10 companies, the chapter also has an HQ element. This is called Chapter Command most of the time, though some chapters have specialized names for it. This has your HQ, and it has support and administrative groups as well. So your chapter master, the tech marines, the apothecaries, all those are going to be in the chapter command. Chapters are normally described as being made up of 1,000 marines. That's really what you read, is 1,000 marines in a chapter. So where did Games Workshop get the idea for the chapter, that organization? And to answer that, let's look at the distant past of Old Earth. The idea of the chapter organization can be pretty clearly traced to the organization of British infantry battalions in the era of the Napoleonic Wars. During this period, and for a large part of the height of the British Empire, roughly the 18th through 19th centuries, the British Army adhered to a pretty standard formation. The army was divided into regiments, which acted as the largest permanent formation of the military. Each infantry regiment was divided into 1 or more battalions. A battalion was divided into, see if this sounds familiar, 10 companies of troops. 8 companies, companies 1 through 8, were known as battle or center companies. These were the regular troops of the battalion. In addition to these 8 companies, the battalion would also contain a grenadier company, which was made of heavy shock troops. These are going to be some of the most elite. Generally, they're going to be taller also, men in the company. And you would have a light company, made of light troops who acted as skirmishers and scouts. Ideally, the battalion would be about 1,000 men strong. So if we look at that organization of the British battalion of the Napoleonic War period, it's very, very clear that the Space Marine chapter draws heavily on this organization. In fact, the organizations are almost exactly the same. Unlike Space Marine chapters, however, the British battalion were part of a larger organization, the regiment. Each regiment was based out of a depot, which acted as the administrative and recruitment center for the regiment. This is rather like a Space Marine fortress monastery. Many regiments had either what we called a depot battalion or a group that remained at the depot while the other battalions were in the field. This group would act as a training and recruitment battalion. They would slowly send batches of new troops out to reinforce the line battalions in the field. You can see this kind of mirrors the idea of the reserve companies in the Space Marine chapter. This does appear clear that it is based off of the British regimental system, arguably the most famous and effective formation in British history. So if a bunch of Brits were going to make their ideal formation for their fantasy game, it would make sense to pull from their own history, right? On top of that, when 40K was getting started in the 1980s, historical wargaming was huge in the UK. Most, if not all, of the early 40K guys who helped develop the game and make the models and everything played historicals as well. It would have been an organizational type and system they were comfortable with and very well aware of. So when they picked this, it makes sense to use something that they knew, that was grounded in history and grounded in their own history. I hope you've enjoyed this quick jaunt into this intersection of 40K and real history. If you'd like to read more on the subject, we'll go ahead and put some actual sources down in the description. You can go ahead and take a look on those on yourself. And everyone here at Bulls, have a wonderful day.